failed my first private pilot check ride. And the one big mistake that we'd made was I was fairly well prepared, not as prepared as I should have been. And during the training, the instructor, every time we would talk about aircraft logbooks, he would look over and say, the mechanics aren't here, the door's locked, and we can't get in. So we went through all the training, went through the PTS, when we thought we were ready. Now, of course, I'm a nervous wreck. It's my first check ride, so I'm letting my nerves get to me anyway. And one of the very first thing, once the examiner gets the check ride going, is he wants to look at the aircraft logbooks. Well, of course, I feel like a complete moron and say, well, they're not here, they're over with the maintenance guy. So we get the instructor, and he goes over and gets them, and he brings them in, and he says, okay, show me the last 100-hour inspection. So I grabbed the book, and it was not a new helicopter, so there was a lot of entries, and I start flipping page to page. Well, as I'm flipping page to page, the examiner's doing this and looking around the room, and he's huffing and puffing and writing stuff down. Well, of course, as that's going on, I'm getting even more and more nervous and more freaking out. And finally, I just looked up and was honest and said, I've never seen this book before. It was always locked up, and we never actually went over it. Well, you can imagine that went over like a lead balloon. So he said, well, keep trying to see if you can find it. Well, I find it, read off the last inspection to him. That's all good. The aircraft was current, and everything was fine, with the exception of I'd never even seen the logbook. Well, that looks bad for me. Looks bad for my instructor, who was a great instructor, but that's just one thing that we didn't cover that we should have, and it's all in the PTS. So that's the other big thing, is making sure that you have all the aircraft documents and that you've seen them, you've studied them. What I do on check rides is we open them up prior to the test, and we tab 100-hour, 50-hour. We find all these things, so when the check ride comes, the student needs to look these things up. He knows where to go, and he can show the examiner the date, the work that was performed, who did it, so on and so forth. So that's one of my tips on my spill of taking the check ride. The big thing is getting there on time, having everything you need, everything's signed, everything's dated, your logbooks, you have the logbooks with you. Worked at another place that never failed. We're getting ready to go take a check ride, and last minute, where's the logbooks? Oh, they're off at some other airport 40 miles away where the mechanic did the work. Well, and it's always those moments where, gee, is there any way we can get there, get those, and get to the check ride? You don't want to deal with that stress last minute. All these things you want to be finding prior to, make sure you have it all, everything's signed and ready to go. So if you can get there, you have everything you need. If the examiner wants you there at 8, be there at 7. Be there an hour early so you can take a breather, get your stuff laid out, make sure everything's good to go. So when the guy walks through the door, you're organized, you're ready to go, and you have everything ready. So, as always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.